So we're back with more Are They Doomed? And today I've got a very special guest to help us talk about Jaguar from kind of the UK. It's Will from Tesla Jigsaw, who I met at Fully Charged in Farnborough. Will, so good to have you here.
Hello, lovely to be here. Nice to see you, Brian.
And to everyone else, I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla weekend. So, Tesla Jigsaw is a small channel with just 61 videos, but quality over quantity. His production value is so good. He's got, just great topics, really production value I'm jealous of, for sure.
Oh, and thank you, sir.
Yeah. And he also, like me, has a new background. How cool is that?
Yeah, I got a blue light bulb, so it must be a professional YouTuber by now.
It does look good, though. It really does.
Thank you. Yeah.
So Jaguar, in the US at least, best known for the I-Pace. Now, Jaguar has been around for a very long time. Who better to make luxury cars than a British tractor company? They've got a variety of them, and they may possibly qualify, the used ones at least, for some tax break. Maybe not the new ones. Let's talk about their engineering. You said your friend's neighbor has one.
Yes, he has. He's not been mightily impressed, as far as I'm aware, because it's constantly breaking down. Somewhat kind of regrets buying it and wish he had bought a Tesla. Although that's my only knowledge of somebody who's actually got an I-Pace. But from what I'm aware of, they're very good cars. They're very fast, comfortable. Obviously, you've got the luxury in it, which is rather nice. You've got all the bells and whistles. But he's missed out on the supercharger network and all the obvious benefits to a Tesla. So
now, in terms of the engineering, it's got a 90 kilowatt hour battery, which only gives it 246 miles of range. And if you get the 22-inch wheels, 217 miles of range. Now, the 22-inch wheels look beautiful, but 217 miles of range. Now, and that's 0 to 100. That's not even babying your battery. So that's not ideal. And Jaguar is not known for reliability. I've had friends who owned Jaguars, and they said, it's a great car to drive if you have another one. That is not a Jaguar. My brother, his ex-wife had a Jaguar, and just the brakes alone were outrageously expensive, and the local mechanic couldn't do it. They live in a small town, or at the time lived in a small town in eastern Washington, and their local guy was like, I'm not touching that car. I'm not touching it. And I don't know what would make a brake job particularly challenging, but if that's the case, think about all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Tesla's incredible efficiency lead is becoming clear with range tests against the e-tron and the I-Pace. The range is just not great. It's a bit shocking. Consumption at average speed of 120 kilometers an hour on the Autobahn. The Model X got 24.8 kilowatt hours per kilometer, where the I-Pace was at 31.3. That's like 50% worse.
Yes, so it's not very efficient. It's rather heavy. It's rather expensive, and you're missing out on a lot of benefits from a Tesla, aren't you? So a surprising choice, really. But I guess Jaguar people, it's got the sort of the brand awareness and the certain type of buyer, I suppose.
Yeah, and then in terms of, again, we're still on engineering. Jaguar recalls all I-Pace EVs over battery fire risk a year after we warned them about it.
Yeah.
That's expensive. That is a big, expensive mistake. And it just feels like it's LG was the supplier. Now, LG was also the supplier who made the batteries that went into the Chevy Bolt, which was similarly completely recalled. But LG batteries go into Teslas, and theirs are not at risk of fire. So there's more to it. You can blame the cell provider all you want, but at some point, the engineering does fall back on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for engineering, boy, I'm going to be I got to give them a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10, a 3.
Yeah. I mean, again, if no other electric cars existed and the I-Pace was the only one, only choice for the UK, it would just be breathtaking, wouldn't it? But
It would.
yeah, but with quite a few mistakes
And
yeah,
dreadful
okay.
efficiency.
Yeah.
And they know how to build the parts of a car that are not the electric drivetrain. Now, this isn't really the Jaguar legacy we're talking about, but it's not, it's below average. It's below average engineering.
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you thinking?
Well, yeah, can't really give it more than a 4, I suppose.
Okay. Now we've got the demand. Jaguar I-Pace sales in Q4 decreased to 1,146, its lowest level since its launch in 2018. Now, I think that's a big part of the fact that it is not, when it came out, it was among the few options, and now it is not. There are a lot of cars in that space. 2022 was a very challenging year for the entire Jaguar Land Rover group, part of Tata Motors. As we wrote previously, they intend to electrify both of its brands and all that. So in terms of demand, the brand itself is, let's look at their sales figures. In the US, boy, these numbers are abysmal. This is not for the electrified ones. This is for all of them. They only sell like 1,000, 2,000 a month in the entire US.
Right.
So for demand, it's a luxury premium electric car competing with all the VW stuff, all the Tesla stuff, and even to an extent the Mach-E, which is probably half the price. The Mach-E is not half the car. It is way more than half the car. And if what you care about is practicality, the Mach-E's got a vastly better range. So for demand, I'm giving them a 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Missed opportunity, I suppose. If they'd have got a lot more things right, they would have sold a lot more. Seems quite simple.
I mean,
So,
that is
yeah.
true. What are you thinking on demand?
Well, yeah, I'll happily give it a 2 as well. It's hard to give
it's
it more.
unfortunate. So the next major element we're looking at is cost controls. Still on demand. Looking at luxury car sales, the Jaguar had among the biggest drops year to date. A year to date change from the previous year. It's just not good. So cost controls. It's hard to know because we're talking about Tata Motors is the parent group, and the numbers are not broken out. Their profit margin is negative for the entire group. Their return on equity is deeply negative. So I would say for cost controls, they're in trouble a bit. They're making a very expensive car, selling it in very low volume, and not making money. You can't make money on a car unless you sell enough of them to amortize your costs for the factory, for the R&D, for the tooling. And you can't get good prices on parts when you're selling a couple thousand a month. That's just not good. So for cost controls, I'm going to give them a 4, unfortunately.
Yeah, I do wonder what the I-Pace was, what the production rate was set to be originally when they first released it. Are they anywhere near that figure, or?
I-Pace production target. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say not a chance, but let's see. Yeah, I don't see anything suggesting what the target production was, but it was certainly bigger than this. So yeah, for cost controls, I gave them a 4, which I think might even be a little generous because they're so negative on everything. And I don't see how they get that sorted out without increasing volume, and they can't increase volume without the revenue to do it.
Indeed, it has not worked out very well for it, has it? It's such a shame though, because the opportunity was there. But cost control 3.
i3. You're right. They were an early player. They had pretty much the I-Pace was pretty much the first of that form factor available.
Yeah.
And just like Nissan with their Leaf, they squandered the opportunity and just let it go.
That's why I'm more cross at certain car manufacturers. I think, the opportunity that BMW had with the i3, to take that and then put it in a Mini, like not 10 years ago nearly, they could have wiped the floor in Europe and China with small electric cars if they'd have just, pulled the
and
finger
the
out.
i3 was so competent and capable for what it was. And you still see them on the road every day. In Farnborough, I must have seen 8 on the road.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
My best friend bought one over the weekend. So, of course, I went to see him and took it out for a spin. I've not driven one for a little while. And I think it's incredible. Yeah, it's just an amazing car. And if all these car companies had the opportunity to create a small electric car and just,
And there's still BMWs. There's still the ultimate driving machine is the slogan they use over here.
Yeah.
I think the design is a matter of taste. I like the i3. I think it's a great look.
I like it because it's individual. Because you can I just hate generic, boring-looking cars. Seeing an i3, yes, it looks a bit funky, but inside it's like a van. You're sitting high up and it's roomy and it's an incredible little car.
And there's no drivetrain channel down the middle splitting you up too much, I think.
No, it's not too bad. Although I did realise yesterday that the over the weekend that the batteries are all in the boot underneath, so it's not got a flat floor of batteries, so hence it's a bit wobbly at anything over 40 miles an hour. But apart from that, it's great.
So,
sorry, I've just diverted us away from.
That's fine.
Jaguar.
Well, it's a good conversation, though. Yeah. It's part of the conversation. The Tata Motors cash on hand is pretty strong. Back in 2008, they were hovering in the hundreds of millions. Starting in 2012, they had $4.5 billion, which they've been able to more or less keep. In 2018, they had $8 billion. Right now, they have $6.5 billion as of, this number's a little bit out of date, as of September of last year. So not quite up to date. $6.5 billion is reasonable cash on hand, but that needs to float the entire Tata Motor Group, not just Jaguar. For cash on hand, I'm going to say they're okay, because it doesn't appear they have huge plans to invest vast fortunes into Jaguar production. I don't think it would make sense to build a $2 to $4 billion Jaguar factory based on the volumes that they have historically seen.
Yeah, certainly not as a luxury car company. I mean,
no. Now, this would tap an outsized portion of Tata Motors' total cash for a product that's not going to be in wide production. So I'm just going to give them a 5 for cash on hand in terms of its survivability. Okay.
Well, in terms of electric car companies or car companies in general, I think having anything positive in the bank is rather rare. So, I mean, we're not talking about Volkswagen's $3 trillion of debt here, are we? So, there's more debt than Russia, by the way. Yeah, insane.
Yes,
anyway,
but to be fair, Volkswagen's worth more than Russia.
You're going to get in trouble for that from your Russian audience.
So for cash on hand?
Yeah, cash on hand. I'd say 5. They've got something. Yeah. Something's better than nothing. They've got more money than me. There you go.
So let's talk about their roadmap. Tata Motors looks to expand electric car portfolio and add pricier models. So they were at the, where is it? In India, I guess. Yeah, they're talking about how they plan to electrify everything. And that includes Jaguar and Land Rover. And they're showing off Tata-branded vehicles. Now, if they could just do a simple rebadge, take one of their existing Tata electric cars and just premium up the interior a bit, there's no reason a rebadged Tata couldn't be a cost-effective way to expand the Jaguar footprint. They are, looking to do that. Tata doubling down on its electric vehicle plans, aggressive plans to expand its presence, and they will invest over £15 billion in the EV business over the next 5 years, which means they will be taking on additional debt. They will be using all of that free cash flow, and they will definitely be drawing down their investment, their cash on hand. So they've got, it's a decent balance sheet. 15 billion over 5 years. That is a serious roadmap. And 5 years is short enough that it means we're starting today. When I hear 10, 15-year plans, I assume that's the next CEO's problem. I don't have to deal with that. So I think their roadmap is reasonable, sincere, and that they're actually moving in the right direction. So for roadmap, I'm going to give them a 7 because they can read the writing on the wall and they're already taking steps to move in the right direction.
Yes, okay. It's just whether they can move fast enough and whether they're willing to spend enough and invest enough. Again, just looking at Volkswagen's investment of $193 billion into its new electric battery facilities and car production. I'm not sure how Jaguar is going to stack up with just, what was it, 15 billion? And well, quite possibly. Yeah, it can happen, I suppose. I can just keep thinking about it.
So my thought is 193 billion is so much. It's too much. It's a number that defies understanding when you look at the fact that Tesla's building factories capable of 1 million to 2 million of production for a price of, $4 billion.
Yeah.
193 billion should get you an amount of production no car company has ever gotten.
Yes.
But I'm not convinced Volkswagen is spending their money wisely.
No, me too. Yes.
Yeah. And I think Tata's engineering coming out of India is vastly cheaper than it would be if you were trying to do the same engineering in Germany.
True. Yeah.
In Bayern.
Yeah, but in my mind, I just keep zooming out and just looking a few years down the line, just thinking, by the time Tesla has continued and all these other electric car companies in China have continued their rapid progression, what's going to be left over for Jaguar, and Tata altogether? I'm not sure.
So what are you giving them for the roadmap?
I'm a little bit more suspicious. I think I'll say 4.
Great. Okay. Well, this may not surprise you. They've come out right at the bottom of the barrel, just ahead of Lucid and a bit ahead of VinFast. Their prospects, I think we can agree, not great. They're not a very big company to begin with, and this is going to make them, unless they get serious, it's going to make them even smaller, which I don't think is where they want to be right now. With that said, I do want to thank my patrons who get early access, bonus content, all that good stuff. Help keep the channel running without exaggeration. Could really use a few more names on this list, but I thank you all for being here. Everybody else can subscribe. One thing I like to do at the end, Will, is show off some of the other AI-generated thumbnails. I tried doing Jaguar electric vehicles, and they all came out not very good, and none of them really look like Jaguars. So I added some other terms to it and got much better results. They are kind of fun, and no real horror shows in this one, which is an improvement over some of them. This one I really like.
I can't see.
No, you'll see it when it comes out.
I get it.
Yeah, but in the meantime, what I really need you to do is check out in the description. It's Tesla Jigsaw. You can find it on the YouTubes. It's a fun channel, and it's got great information. And like me, he actually gets out and does stuff outside the studio, which is a lot of work, but I feel it pays off, and it's a lot of fun. So, Will, thank you for taking the time and joining me today. I hope you had fun.
Yeah. It's been great. Thanks, Brian. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and to everybody else in the comments, what did we miss? What do we misunderstand? Stay tuned. Stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots in a matter of days when we do this again.